Let's do it and let's go. You know, this is a great talk here. I don't know how much I'm going to watch about this, but I saw about 1 to 2 minutes of Jordan Peterson talk about something that's very relevant to gaming and why I love games that are MMO based that have an element of danger to them. Danger in an MMO, in a video game, is very important to me. And I'm going to tell you why. But first, let's have Jordan Peterson tell us why danger is important. I saw this morning. I said, wow, this is exactly the way I feel when I'm trying to describe danger in video games. Being immersed, feeling the feels, loving that PvP, right? It's what I'm trying to explain to PvEers. Let's just listen.
It's very helpful for people to hear that they should make themselves competent and dangerous and take their proper place in the world.
Competent and dangerous?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, you
Why
son
danger?
of a bitch. Yes,
because
dangerous.
It's the alternative to being weak.
That's
and
right.
Weak is not good. The people who shoot up the high schools, they're weak. They're weak.
How is it good to be dangerous?
Because it makes you formidable. And life is a very difficult process. And you're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous. That doesn't mean that you should be cruel. It doesn't mean any of that.
Right.
There's a statement in the New
Right.
Testament, the meek shall inherit the earth. But the meek isn't well translated. It means something more like those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. That's a way better way of thinking about it. You have to be powerful and formidable and then peaceful in that order. And that's not the same as being naive and weak and harmless, which is what young men are being encouraged to be.
Right.
It's like that's a very bad idea.
Right.
It's a very bad idea.
Right.
Because naive, weak, and harmless means that you can't withstand the tragedies of life.
Life is dangerous out there. We forgot that it was dangerous because of technology. We forgot about the primal shit. We forgot about it. I don't know where we're going, you know. I do know, and I do see a lot of people out there trying to protect everyone from everything. And I don't agree with that. I mean, obviously you want to keep the loved ones that you have in your life safe, right? But like, you have to be able to go out in the world. You got to be able to handle things. You got to correctly assess your environment. You have to make smart decisions based upon that assessment. And that takes practice and diligence and patience. And you got to go out there and you got to realize that. You got to own it up. You got to take your environment for what it is and make it better. If your environment's shitty, you look around, you see where the shit is, you see what you try and do. You're going to take it head on? Are you going to exit stage left, try and find a different environment, try and protect that environment? What are you capable of? What, as a person, man or woman, are you capable of? Danger, being dangerous, does not have to be wicked or cruel. In PvP and in PvE, in video games, I hear PvEers say this, and I say, and listen, I understand PvE gameplay. I love PvE gameplay on a certain level. There's times I want to zone out and I want to do it. So I'm not trying to make this a versus thing. I'm not trying to make this a PvP versus PvE talk. What I'm trying to say is this, to communicate it to PvEers so they understand this. Danger does not have to be wicked or cruel. Like griefing, for instance, like griefing. We're going to watch an Avenger 1 video after this. We're going to talk about cheating. We're going to get into this talk. We're going to get into the crux of it. But I see this a lot. I see the PvEers think that all PvP is poisonous or toxic. And I laugh because there's an element to danger and dangerous that is healthy, that is important, that builds character, that tests us as human beings. That is very relevant to put in an MMO, to keep people rooted, to keep people challenged, to keep that player retention. There's many people out there that play games for that very reason, to be challenged. My lamentations with PvEers is that they want to shelter us from it. They want to keep us safe from it. They don't want to have that in their game, right? And then I would say, okay, if it's a solo player game, I'm fine with that. But if it's an MMO based game and there's no element of danger and the developers try to keep you safe all the time, that game is trash to me. That game is literally garbage to me because it's not doing anything for me. So I hope you guys understand that when I talk about the danger, when I talk about bringing the danger, that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
You can't bear any responsibility. You'll end up bitter. And when you get bitter, then you get dangerous.
But one thing I'm not getting, there's
Right.
a big difference between letting...
Listen, Starlet's absolutely right. She says danger is fine. Malice can stay out of my leisure time. Yes. There are so many people out there with when we talk about these things, right, there's extremes to both sides. There's bad and good extremes to both sides of PvP and PvE, right? And the PvP bad extreme are those people that take it way too far. And you know it because you feel it and it's wrong, right? So I'm not endorsing that whatsoever, Starlet, you know?
People do something for themselves and saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt them.
No, that's what media and everything has made this man believe. Who is this guy? I used to watch this guy a long time ago. He's I don't know about his aging process. I'm so sorry. Age is a bitch. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can we just, I don't want applause for age. I'm getting what? Stop it, Pepe. Stop it. Age is a bitch. Listen, this guy is trained and conditioned to believe that all danger is bad. You understand what I'm saying? I think that Jordan Peterson takes a lot of time to put his words together articulately. I don't do nearly the amount of work that Jordan Peterson does. I would like to think that I'm somewhat articulate. I know that I am not. I know that I'm a shadow of the person that I could be in terms of getting my thoughts out. I know I stutter, I misstep, I have difficult times spitting out what it is I'm trying to, the ideas I'm trying to get to you to see I'm doing it right now. Let's get back to Jordan Peterson.
Somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. But that doesn't mean you should use it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. People who teach martial arts know this full well, right? If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously you learn to control it.
Yes.
Both of those come together.
Yes.
And the combination of
Yes.
that capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no, that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good.
Damn, dude. Damn.
Good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
It is.
You said that a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. How should people become more dangerous?
Oh, becoming more articulate is definitely, I would say, that's the primary.
God damn it, Jordan Peterson. God damn it. I'm trying, Jordan. I'm trying. I am trying.
Array of weapons. So, I mean, physical prowess is something, and it's not nothing. That physical confidence that comes along with that as well.
I'm missing a
But
brain, Jordan. I'm
the
sorry.
same thing replicated at the level of the ability to communicate and to think. That's way broader field of
Why? What's
battle
going
and
on with
opportunity.
Jordan?
So this is one.
I don't know if I don't know if the people who are putting up words against him are being dangerous or they're just being crude and rude and full of attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people that don't like him just because they don't like him. But I don't know if there's a lot of people that can sit down and listen to the man's words. You know, I haven't listened to a lot of what Jordan has to say, but what I have listened to, I'm like, wow, this dude's like, this is like some gospel, you know? But yeah, like Static was saying, like, Jordan Peterson, you got to be dangerous, but then cries because people are being dangerous towards him, says Major Static. And I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know if people are being dangerous to him or they're just being, like, rude to him. Well, I don't know. There's so many different ways you could look at this. There really are. There's so many different ways.
thing that isn't taught well, especially to boys. It's more important to teach it to boys, I would say, because they're more skeptical of the educational enterprise in general, generally speaking, partly because they're less obedient, partly because they're less agreeable. That's particularly true for disagreeable boys. And agreeable boys get higher grades independent of their IQ and their academic achievement, because they're easier to deal with. So what do you tell disagreeable boys? There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence, than being able to articulate, be able to think, to marshal your arguments. Right?
So true.
It's a battlefield metaphor. Get everything in order. Get all your information straight. To marshal your forces. And so, I mean, that's part of the reason that rap artists are so popular, especially among disaffected young men, black and white alike, because they're unbelievably articulate.
Even though he's a
they have this
psychologist.
incredible verbal prowess. It's unbelievably attractive. And it's associated with genuine artistic and redemptive activity, often focusing on something that's approximately the voice of the underclass, let's say, but a powerful voice, right? And it's interesting to see how many young white guys identify with that.
Was it Aldous Huxley that wrote Doors of Perception?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of an equivalent of that, right? That you have a experience which many people struggle to articulate. You take the best of us, the one that has the most precise, most articulate, erudite language. You drop them in and you say, okay, show us what you've learned. This is the equivalent, but for just a different community, a different sort of life, that maybe you don't have the ability to describe what it feels like to live on a council estate in Manchester or in, one of the neighborhoods of Brooklyn or whatever it might be. And then this person can.
I do just.
And it feels like it's your voice.
Yeah, well, if you're a young man, you still feel alienated from your place as rightful heir of the proper kingdom. I mean, that's an existential truism for everyone, particularly for every young man. Because he is an outsider in many ways. He's young and juvenile and not very highly valued, and then is in some sense hurt by the inadequacies of the current king, the current culture, and is easily turned against it because of that. And that's the machinations of the evil uncle. That's the King Arthur story. That's the story of Horus and Osiris. It's an ancient story. It's the story of Sauron, and it's there all the time. And you see in rap music, in hip hop, all of that alienation being given an articulated voice in an artistic sense. And that's a good example of the power of verbal facility. And that's the route to, let's say, marketing education to young men. It's like, you want to take your rightful place in the kingdom? It's like, get your tongue straight, man. Get it under control.
All I have to say is bravo, dude. Like Danger, being eloquent with your words, knowing the correct things to say, knowing when to say them, knowing when not to say them. It's nothing that I possess here on DG360.
Establishing video.
What's this? We got a message from Jordan Peterson. We have another message.
Establishing video uplink.
Commander, we need you to locate the old GDI outpost and investigate rumors of a Nod presence in the area. Knock out all fortifications, eliminate all Nod troops, and establish a beachhead by building your base. Good luck, Commander.
I don't remember that part.